Good morning, my fellow gaming enthusiasts. Sometimes every now and then I have to write something down because I'll see something on somebody else's video that strikes a chord with me, and I want to come back after I've had time to let it roll around in my head and absorb it and discuss what it is I was talking about. And this is one of those things. It's called the Greek Chorus. And while we're doing it, I'm going to dismantle my rig. This, like I said, prior videos, I've been trying to find a better way to do my quote revisitations or reviews of other game systems, of the ones I have. And in the past, I've been doing the ones where I just basically hold it up and show it to you and wave stuff at you. So here's waving something at you, and then kind of read from it. Then I made an attempt at using my cell phone to do this because I've seen the other guys using these layout where you're looking down at the table, and it achieved the result, but it didn't get as good a result as I'd like. So I bit the bullet, went out and bought this $25. I think we spent at Walmart for it. Little Logitech camera that attached to my laptop, and then I have this selfie stick that I also picked up at Walmart for as a boom to mount the camera to it. Paid $5 for this little gizmo, and it's nice. And the everyman's ubiquitous tool, duct tape. Duct tape will fix just about anything you can imagine you need to fix, and things you don't need to fix. And then a little C-clamp that I had handy to clamp it to the table. So there you go. A little bit of MacGyvering from the fat man. This is how poor people learn to make do and get by with stuff, and that other people would have much more elaborate, expensive rigs and setups. Just can't afford those. Although I'm starting to begin to think maybe I had to balance this thing on my lap, because the further the way the laptop is, the harder it is for you to listen and hear what I got to say. So it's not as clear as we would like. But we're getting off topic. The Greek Chourus, which in actually reality is not necessarily too off topic, because that is also kind of the point, right? One of those social aspects of gaming is the rebuttal and commentary by your fellow gamers while your player character is engaged, or the player character is engaged. And so you have this dual level set of play or verbiage going on. We have these conversations where in some aspects it's that Greek chorus where we have to be aware of what we call out of character knowledge, or book the rules doctors who want to belabor something. Well, no, the rules don't say that. The rules say this, and we have to do what the rules say, because I'm telling you, I know the rules and I've studied the rules, and it's here on this page. Blah 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 blah. We all got those people. We all know how that rolls out. So, not necessarily saying it's totally a bad thing, but that fits into that Greek chorus thing, but not in the flavor that we were talking about. Like I had a video, and then several people responded to it, and Anthony Boyd responded to it, and he coined the term or the term Greek chorus. He created it, but he put the words to the concept, and it really struck up here, because I hadn't considered it in that line. I'm not hugely big on the classics, so to speak, and I'm not a student of the classics. I am a student of history, but more modern, postmodern history, not ancient Greek or Romanesque. And there's that general jack of all trades of a lot of different vague interests. A lot of things interest me, but not enough to spend a lot of goober amount of time investing in becoming proficiently mastering of it. But enough of it that I can rattle it off. So when somebody else fires something off, I can relate somewhat to what they're talking about. And we was referring to specific the new Star Trek Adventures, which I have yet to see. The style, their slick style, quote slick style of rotating characters, and I the reason the topic was fresh in my head is because that is a concept that the old FGU's space opera game system strongly suggests doing, although their take is just a little different. They have a section, a couple paragraphs long, that says that because of the larger story of the bigger universe, this is a good idea to have your players have several sets of characters that they can rotate through. Now, in the one that Mr. Boyd and myself and some others were discussing, the concept there is that you take it to a slightly another turn on that level, where the players take on the roles of your surrounding NPCs and minions and one-offs and so on and so forth, which as an amateur GM, I was never going to allow, because that's not how that works. The GM's supposed to be the voice and the mind for everybody but the player characters. As a veteran GM, as a more savvy and lazy GM, I've come to value that there's actually more immersion opportunities for immersion, players becoming immersed in the story, if they actually are able to slide in and out of secondary character roles, which gives voices to, in some cases, okay, the bartender at the local watering hole. You've got one or two of the party goes in to go ask a question. Well, why not let one of the other players role play the bartender? Because if the bartender doesn't have any of the information, it doesn't going to make anything different. On the other hand, perhaps the player runs the bartender and comes up with a good piece of information that I, the GM, didn't think about. I can jot that down and take advantage of it. So there's a possibility for everybody being invested more in the game system. There's that problem in some game systems, and I know I've said it before, so I'm trying not to harp on it. And I use the Star Wars as the prime example of where in Star Trek, with the problem with being officers. In Star Wars, if you're being a Jedi and then being a non-Jedi, it's difficult to have the two of them together any length of time, because then it becomes the prime hero and his or her supporting staff, or supporting actors, so to speak. Because if you look at the cinema, if you look at the movies, when Luke started to really develop into being a Jedi, he went off on his own. As a group adventure, Leia, Luke, and Han never got together again per se, except for getting away from something, or to achieve we're moving from point A to point B kind of thing. Even in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, when they go and they rescue Han, Luke went in separate. Leia went in separate. They took different, and Lando went in separate. They all went in separate, and we didn't see. They were just there, right? So the Greek Chourus concept is that, well, Anthony Boyd had pointed out that there's a danger of having too many characters, too many side characters and secondary characters, where you start to lose your investment in them, so to speak. Either they are there to serve as mobile shields for those more potent, heroic characters that the players are invested in, or they are just autonomous robotics, automatons that are going through the motions, and the players are just putting them through the motions and not really putting any connectivity to them. Because in their head, the back of their head, potentially, I'm guessing, they understand that these are throwaway characters and or 2-bit one-offs that are not going to be with them for any length of time. So there's the group at the table loses the Greek Chourus mindset. That's my take on this. We then suddenly become more about the mechanics and more about the plotting storyline of too many characters, and not the intimacy of the personal characters. So I can see that as a problem. I can see that as becoming a problem, especially if you don't keep focused on not allowing that. You have to be aware that that's a potential problem, or it has become one. At some point, everybody's bored. It's just, well, or we don't have that banter around the table. And like, what gaming table doesn't have that banter where we go into a situation and everybody's like, oh yeah, yeah, I can't believe it sounds so, or you're going to walk through the door and a big ogre's going to reach in and rip it and blah, 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 and everybody's like looking at it, what? Really? No, so that's the Greek chorus, at least in my mind. So we've got that the players and the player character separation. There's a layer and then a layer and then another layer. So if you look at from the trifecta of the GM layer, the player layer, and the player character layer, they all intermesh together to make a cohesive sphere. But without those three working together and revolving around each other, they don't flow well. The story doesn't feel right. It's hard to become immersed into something. You don't feel like you're involved in the scenario, or you don't feel it. You don't feel the actor's attempts at wearing the character. So I imagine and I think about a lot of those videos and movies I've seen of the actors or the post or pre cut stuff for some movie that we've seen that I've seen, and then we see the actors trying to be in those roles that they take on, but then joking around or laughing when they fumble something or something goes not quite the way we want, and you see that banter amongst the actors behind the scenes. We don't see that in the cinema because the cinema is the immersion or the immersed story. Everybody's immersed. The characters are fully in character. So we take all those cuts and we look at the director's cuts and stuff, and we see the banter and the interaction between the actors or the players and then their characters. It makes it much more believable for the characters to have depth or give the characters depth, because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. But at the gaming table, we see that. And in the tradition of the Greek Chorus is where they're making the commentary of, but this guy doesn't always, the I'm trying to. There's so much terminology there. I'm trying to put my finger on. The fact of the matter is, the this actually takes on this Greek chorus per se takes on a character of its own in a way, because it's that friendly or friendly banter or rivalry between the players that feed the environment. So when something goes south for the character itself, or something the character's about to do could go south, potential for something going bad or potential for something going success, the fact that the players and the other players are making jibs and jabs and kind of making side bets and chuckling and going, here, you want me to roll the dice for you just to see, kind of seeing what's happening. It makes it more poignant, more personal. So it's a good thing to have, I think. There you have it. My 2 cents on the Greek chorus in gaming. Very necessary component to make it well. Whether you do the multiple characters or main characters and secondary supporting characters, or however your particular style is, whether your game system, your choice, promotes it or not, doesn't matter. Having that friendly banter amongst the players and the GM is quite crucial to a good rounded group, in my opinion. Thank you very much.